Lisa Fox, you are the confidence queen, and I have been looking forward to this interview for so long. So, my first question for you is how do you do it? How do you embody confidence the way that you do? Because I've watched you and you just do it so well. So, my first question is the how.
Wow, that's a big question.
I know.
Okay, so I don't actually consider myself a terribly confident person.
Hmm.
That might shock you, but I and I certainly was not up until like I don't know the last decade. I guess I've become a lot more confident, but like I was the least confident person anyone had ever met, in my childhood, in my teenage years. Like I couldn't talk to people without going red. I would vomit before I'd perform, and like you get it as a performer, it's like I would like literally I'd be in the wings going, "Ugh." Um, and and even now, I absolutely will struggle with certain situations. Like I totally have social anxiety, right? I do really well talking with people one to one. Or I do really well speaking to groups. If I'm leading or if I'm teaching, no problem at all. But put me at a dinner table with, five or six people, I find myself like I find it more difficult to speak, to know what to say, to not kind of judge myself and go, "Oh, that was so stupid," you know? Um, and I'll also like kind of talk myself out of even going to that dinner several times before it happens. And I'm still like that. I'm getting better, but I'm still like that. So, and in terms of so my work is obviously all about confidence. And I think because I've struggled with confidence so much and because I've gained so much confidence along the way, the hard way, I'm really good at and I really enjoy teaching it because I understand what it is not to have it. But like
Okay, so I love this. I love this idea that, okay, you weren't born like this. It wasn't just like oozing out of you from birth. And that because you've become more confident as you've grown, we all have a chance to learn from you and realize that okay, this is something we can change. This is something that we can attain.
it's a decision. And the decision is not to be more confident. The decision is to have courage.
Mic drop.
Yeah. And like, because when you are courageous over and over and over again and put yourself into the situations that you don't feel confident in, confidence comes through action, right? And I think that
Absolutely.
yeah, the underlying and you get this as an artist, right? Like when you go on stage for like the first night of a show and you haven't done this particular show or this particular set before, or you're singing some new songs, you're not
Yeah.
confident. You're not confident. I don't care who you are. You can do certain things to make yourself feel more confident and perform better in that scenario. You can rehearse. You can, like rehearse in the place where you're going to be performing that. You can rehearse in front of some people, right? You can
Yeah.
and prepare yourself mentally, physically, emotionally for the situation. But you're not going to feel confident until you've done that show, that set a number of times, and until you fucking nailed it a number of times as well.
Yeah.
You know? And so, but in order to put yourself on that stage in the first place, it's a decision to be courageous, and anyone can do that.
Absolutely. So confidence comes through action and practice and doing it again and again and again. I love it. So as you've grown, how have you done that? How's that played out in your life? What scary situations have you put yourself in that have made you really step into that courage?
Well, this is the thing. I've said that's such an interesting question because I don't know how many times I've said to myself right before I do something brand new, like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, why did I put myself up for this? Like, I have regrets. Right? But I have that personality trait or flaw, depending on what way you're looking at it, where I can't imagine things too far in the future. When I say yes to things, I'm like, be fine, it'll be okay. Yeah, yeah, I've
Got
done
this.
that. What could go wrong? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't really have the foresight to be scared enough in advance to say no. So I'm like, yeah. And then closer and closer and closer I get to the thing, I'm like, what was I thinking? Oh my God, now I'm. But I also have the personality trait that when I'm committed, I'm committed. My word is my honor. Like it kills me to ever have to back out of something. And of course, that happens. Like in life, sometimes you say you're going to do something, it's not always possible, but like it kills me when that happens. So like when I've made a promise to someone or myself that like I'm going to do this thing, then it's going to happen. So it's that like idiocy paired with the like commitment, like
Bravery. I mean, two sides. There's all the perspectives, idiocy, bravery. I mean,
and bravery.
right.
Yeah. And this is where it's like, I know that there's a lot of people who say they're going to do something and then they feel that fear and then they're like, oh shit, no, no, no. Actually, that fear is a sign that this is not aligned or this is not okay or I'm not ready or blah, 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 or I shouldn't have said yes or whatever. And then they back out. And it does take a lot of bravery. And this is where the courage comes in. It's like to keep your commitments to yourself and others. There's so much courage and bravery uh,
Mm,
in that because you have that moment before you go out on stage or before you write that content or post that content, before you like put out that offer, before you like ask for the sale, where you're like, I
mm.
if I could do anything else right now, I would do it to get out of this situation. Like if I could just, you really have that instinct to run, but when you're like, well, there's no option because I said I was doing this, and that's like for me when I started my business, sales was that thing for me where I was like, I felt that thing that a lot of my clients will say when I'm coaching them and they're like, yeah, they didn't buy, like I had a sales call, blah, 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 but the client didn't buy. And I'm like, okay, so let's talk through like what happened. Like, let's just break it down. Let's do a postmortem. And they'll tell me about the way the sales call went and they'll be like, and then like, at the end of the call, I just didn't feel it was aligned to say, do you want to buy my thing? You know, I felt uncomfortable. So I told them that I would follow up by email. And or like I thought that
Mm.
they might not think it was right for them. So I didn't want to put any pressure on them. So but all of that translates as I ran for the hills because it was scary to actually say, do you want to buy my thing? You know what I mean? And so
Yes. Do you want me? Do you want all of me?
exactly, exactly. And that is scary. But like I have always, from the very first moment that I started my business, my coach said to me, so this is how you do a sales call. And then you say, do you want my thing? And I was like, oh God, that sounds a bit. And she's like, yeah, you're going to feel that, especially right before you say it. And but you have to say it. You have to offer the sale. And I remember distinctly that moment before going, oh God, yeah, I really want to run away. But like I told my coach and I told myself I was going to
Yeah.
words. So I sweated, I shook, I felt really uncomfortable. I even said I was uncomfortable. I even told the client, this is nerve-wracking and I feel like, all sorts of things. But we're on this call
Yes.
and you know why you're coming on this call, and I feel like this thing might help you. Would you like to hear about it? And she was like, yeah, that's why I'm here.
Right. And what I want to talk about here is authenticity, being true to your word, being true to yourself, being like, how much do you really believe in yourself? And then this whole question of like, okay, I might screw up. And what am I making screwing up mean about who I am?
That's
Like,
right.
whether that's on a stage or whether that's in a sales pitch or any part of life, parenthood or, driving down the street. Like I could screw my life up at any given moment. I'm a human. Guess what? Humans do that all the freaking time. That's part of life. So what am I making it mean about myself if I'm imperfect? Am I
That's
making, yeah, what am I making it mean?
you hit the nail on the head there. It's like it is about believing in yourself, but believing in yourself doesn't mean that you believe that you're going to win. Believing in yourself is believing that you're going to be okay when you lose, because you're going to lose. You're going to lose over and over. You're going to fall flat on your face so many times, and that's what helps you to win ultimately. And I think as performers, we actually deeply get that in a way that most people don't. And I feel like that is the reason, like my life has taken the path that it's taken. I think that's what I was sent here to teach the people,
Yeah.
what I learned as a performer. It's like it is part of your life, your business, your mission on this planet is actually to fail over and over and over again, because how are you ever going to get anything right? How are you ever going to learn anything if you don't fail? Because that's what's going to teach you.
Mm. Well, and I'm just loving this metaphor of like you might hit a sour note and like that happens. Like you are absolutely not expected to like be perfectly on pitch and have, just the most perfect sound every single moment. And that could be like your sales pitch coming off flawlessly and like totally confident every single second. Like we all struggle. We all have those moments.
What are you making it mean? That's what you said, right?
Yeah. What's the
And
story you're telling yourself about the thing you did?
often when we have these stories about what we're making it mean, it's not our own voice that we're hearing when we hear that meaning, right? And like often it's people
Yes.
always say like, I'm afraid what people will think or people will say or how people will judge me. And I want to say this. Usually, we're not afraid what people will think, people will say, people will judge us on. We're afraid of what one person is going to say, think, or judge us on. And often it's our mother or our father or our sister or somebody really, really close to us who has criticized us at some
Yeah.
point in a way that hurt.
And they
And
become that voice inside us that tells us whether or not we're good enough.
yeah. And look, probably lots of other voices as well. But like, again, like with my clients, usually when they're like, people, 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 I'm like, and whose face is in your mind right now? And they're like, oh, my mother. Or, oh, yeah, that's my aunt. Or you, whatever. And it's like, yeah. And what did they say to you? What the fuck did they say to you when you were little or over and over again or whatever that has you thinking that you're a piece of shit if you don't get this, if you don't do this, this particular way?
Mhm. Yep. And the more that you can be aware of how that's not your voice and whether or not those things that they said are they true? Are those quips that are running, rent free around your mind? Are those things actually true? Oh my gosh. When you can be aware that maybe they're not, the freedom that comes is
Something that I always say is like, can you prove it?
mm,
The meaning that you're attaching to fucking up in this way or not getting it right or being afraid not to get it right, like prove it.
yeah.
Proof that that's the truth. Proof that that meaning that you're assigning is the truth. Like, let's pretend you're in a court of law and actually go about proving that fact that you're telling yourself. Because it's not a fact, it's a narrative. It's something that you've been saying for a long time and have made true. And I think the other thing that we can do is just that awareness around what the meaning we're creating is. And like just deciding another meaning. Like
Yeah.
we've got to have the wherewithal if we want to do anything different in our life, if we want to up level in any way, we've got to be willing to notice what are the thoughts. that we are thinking. Because we are our lives are run way more from our subconscious mind than our conscious mind. But
Mm,
we will hear what's happening in our subconscious mind by the thoughts that come in repetitively that we're not paying attention to, right? And so when you actually go, what, and for me, it's like, oh, I feel a certain thing. I feel a thing. And I'm like, what is that feeling? Okay, what was I just thinking? Oh, is that true? Prove it. You know? And it's
right.
just a moment of like, oh, hang on. No. Okay. And getting
Oh,
comfortable.
I so know. So I actually had this, I'm going to call it a hinge point because I want to ask you about your hinge point if you have one that you can remember. But I had this hinge point just a few weeks ago where I was like, okay, I have decades of classical training that I have been not using. I've actually been ashamed of my decades of classical vocal training. And I've been like, well, I don't want to sing opera. No one likes opera. Nobody wants to hear opera. I've been trying to sing pop. I've been trying to fit my big, huge operatic voice into this little tiny pop box and like scrape all of the vibrato out of my voice. And I did this song and I was like, oh my gosh, I actually hate singing this way. This actually sucks. Like this is like not my jam at all. And then I sang in church for Christmas and I just released all of me and I was like, oh, this is great. I love this. And then I was like, why have I been doing this for so long? And I had this moment where I was like, I don't want to be a warbler. My mother made
But
fun of opera singers and called them warblers my whole childhood. And I had this moment where I was like, that was it. That was that moment. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it just like changed everything from like that moment on. And I was like, it's time. It's time. It's time to like stop hiding all of me. And it was like this whole thing. So I want to hear about your hinge point and like
can I
some,
say, you might have to remind me of the question, but I do want to say something about that.
yeah.
Like, I wondered, like, does your mother even remember saying that? Like, or
She
would
says
she
it constantly. She still says it to this
still
day.
say it?
Yeah.
So, which is fine. Like, and she's allowed. She's allowed to hate opera, right? She's allowed to find that kind of singing annoying or whatever.
Yeah.
However, then you've got a blocker, right? You've actually like I say again, this is something I say to my clients all the time because when somebody's opinion, somebody who's close to me, is in my head, is stopping me from like
Yeah.
shining my light. I have online, I block them. I ruthlessly do it. I blocked my mother. Like,
Yeah.
but she actually was quite a good like a supporter of me. She'd be on my post going, "Go on, Lisa, my good girl." But I was like, there was something about her reading my post that I was like, no, 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 no,
Yep.
no, making me feel kind of funky. I don't want the. She would never criticize me to my face, but
There's just that something
still
feels off.
the feels of it. And I was like, I just don't need this. And she didn't do anything wrong. If my mother ever listens to this, she didn't do anything wrong. I was just like, I can't have that in my mind. So I blocked her. And like,
Yes.
people always ask me like, yeah, but it's not online or it's, my mother asks me about business all the time or da, 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 whatever. It's like, we can block people. And I'm not saying cut her out of your life.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, she
Yep.
talks, you just block at the conversation by going to the toilet. She, like, tries to pull you into an opinion about it. You block it by, like, going, here, do you want some chips? Like, you distract her,
Yep.
whatever. But it's like, you don't have to go there with her. You don't have to listen to her opinion. You don't have to engage with her about it.
Yep.
When it's our parents, especially,
It's
you're hardwired to
oh.
get their approval.
Mm-hmm.
But we can override that. We can override
Mm-hmm.
it when we're conscious of it.
And it's so important to realize that like so often they don't do it on purpose. Like my mother was talking about one specific person at one thing. Like I don't think she would ever say she hates all of opera, and she certainly would never say she doesn't like my voice. Like she was talking about one person that she knows, but I took it personally. Like that was me that took it personally. And when I realized that I had subconsciously taken it upon myself, it was so freeing realizing what I had done, not what she had done,
Oh, I
was
love
the
that.
key, right?
Exactly. And that is it. It's radical responsibility because you're a grown woman. This is not on anybody else. And you
Right.
have power to like live and sing and, behave the way you want to. Um, but you have to be conscious of it. So what did you call it? Hinge
A
point?
hinge point. Yeah. A moment where you had like a realization that helps you just step into that, confident authenticity and really own all of who you are.
So for me, it was actually the moment I started this business. I I'd spent 3 years, many thousands of euro. Uh, I'd written a book. I had done a lot of like stuff online for when I was starting this other business. So like before I started this business, I was trying to get a business going, and it was online, and it was as a coach, a confidence coach, but it was for kids. And the reason I was doing this was because, well, I didn't know what else to do, but also I had been teaching children for a long time, and it was sort of the inspiration to go into confidence coaching because I was like, I knew my work with the kids that it wasn't about putting them on stage, right? I mean, that's literally what I was doing, and like, but underneath it all, I was giving them confidence, and so I was like, oh, I could do that online as a coach. It's more scalable business, blah 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 blah. And there were about 3 years I was trying to do it, and I was doing a lot of stuff while I was kind of running my performance art school and being an actor. Is your doggy wanting you? Um, so while I was doing all that stuff, I'm being an actor, right? Um, and it wasn't going anywhere. Like it wasn't going anywhere. I, as I said, I'd say I sunk about probably the guts of 10 grand into this business. I had made about 50 euro back in 3 years.
How is that forcing energy? Because I've also done maybe not quite to that scale, but that whole like, let me logic this business into existence. Let me like find a way where all of my efforts and energy can just make it work. And it's not until I like let it flow. That's my word of the year is flow. Like it's not until I like let it go and just like, oh, like allowed things to happen that things actually just came.
Yeah, and it's isn't that always the way? But
Yeah.
I also I think that's how it had to happen for me. Like personally, I don't have a regret or go. I'm a bit quicker at spotting when I'm doing that now, and I'm a bit better at like just opening myself back up to the flow and kind of a bit more ease. But at the time, I couldn't have known what I didn't know, and I did a lot then that set me up well for this business now. But what happened was there's COVID, right? So COVID happened, and
Yes.
this woman who is is good friends with my or was good friends with my husband, like back in the day. We had kind of been in touch a little bit. She was a website designer, and she was like, Lisa, you can get a grant for your website because of COVID. And then she also put me on to you can get this like business mentorship. I got like 5,000 euro worth of grants basically to help me like get this business going. And so she was like, and if you do get that grant, and she helped me fill out the paperwork, she was amazing. She's like, if you do get that grant, I'll do your website for you and you can give me the money from the grant. I was like, perfect, win-win, great stuff. So anyway, she put a lot of work into that website for me. It all was fabulous, and she did a great job. But when she had the website fairly much finished, I was like, everything came to a halt because I kind of came to a halt, and I was like, I just this doesn't feel right. There's something about it that doesn't feel right. And I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. And for weeks and weeks and months, probably I was like, eh. And she was trying to get information out of me to finish off the website. And I was procrastinating and dragging it out. And finally I came back to her and I was like, I think I know why I'm dragging this out. It's because I don't want to do this business. I
Uh,
think I actually want to work with adult women to help them like with their businesses. I want to help them with their confidence so that they can do better, like be more visible online and make more money. And she said to me, and I thank her for this because I don't know if I would have moved if she hadn't said this. She said, you don't get to do that. You you get to do the thing that you've been preparing, the thing that we've put so much work into, and you make that work, and then once that's working, you can do whatever you want. And so she didn't say it like she didn't say it in a bad way. I mean, I don't want that. Like, if she, like, she had no bad intentions. She was just like, this is how it works. Like, you've got to see this through. And to me, that's again, like, it's a personality trait. When somebody says you can't, I'm like, oh, really? Watch me.
yeah.
So I was like, as soon as she said that to me, I was like, oh my God, it's crystal clear. I have been focusing on, oh, and I said, listen, you still get that money. You don't have to do anything else for me. But you saying that I don't get to do it made it so clear to me that I cannot do it. I'm not doing it. And I was like, thank you so much. You are brilliant. You're an angel sent from heaven. Goodbye. And she was like, oh, just kidding. I'll do it for you. Like, I'll do it. And she was like, and she really, oh my God, she was a saint. Like, she completely redid the website. But it was so much easier because I was like, this is what I want, and this is what I want. I know exactly what I'm saying here. And it was like, that was my hinge point.
Oh my gosh, that's essential. And I cannot tell you how many times I have pivoted in. This is my third rebranding of this podcast. I rebranded it in November. And how many times I have pivoted my business because I started out as I'm going to help moms with burnout, which didn't work because I was burnt out. That doesn't work very well. But you can't really know what's going to work until you start going all in with something. That's what really helps you to understand, like, do I like this? Or actually do I hate it? Like, you can't start to understand what you really want to do with your life until you start trying things.
How you're doing it? How you can't? We can all have the best ideas in the world, but if until we're doing it, we don't know whether we like it or not. And it's really confusing as well. Where you were when you were like helping moms with burnout. I mean, we laughed, but I mean, we all want to help people with the thing that like it's what I was talking about with confidence. Like the reason I help people with confidence is because I get it, because I'm not the world's most confident person. Now I'm at a point where I'm probably more confident than most people, but like I still don't even consider myself that confident. You know what I mean? But because
Right.
I understand it now, and because I'm a certain amount of steps ahead of my clients. And the further I've gone, the more kind of elevated my clients are as well. They come to me like now, there was a time when all of my clients came to me saying, I have no confidence. What's wrong with me? How can you help me? Now my clients come to me saying, I'm really confident. Like I'm visible, I'm putting myself out there, but there's something that's still holding me back. And that really represents my own evolution because and how like my own confidence has evolved. Because I'm attracting clients who are at a very different stage of their own confidence journey. So like
Yeah.
but it's just you don't know what's right till you're feeling, oh, this is it. And I think this is another hinge point for me that I've literally just had. I spent the last year and a half, like, I mean, nothing wrong with it. I've been making multiple six figures the last 3 years in a row. But I somewhere along the line decided, okay, I want to make seven figures, well, naturally enough. But I want to like not have to do all the sales calls anymore. I want to like my content is really good. I wanted to start working for me a little bit more. I wanted to actually bring me the clients. And so I went on this mission to like perfect my content so that people would just sign up with me without me having to like, have sales calls. And nothing worked. Well, it did a bit. Like some parts of it worked, right? But I've the last year and a half, I've had so much struggle with that. so many moments of like, oh my God, I'm not even embodying my message anymore because I'm in this headspace of like, I'm doing something wrong. There's a missing piece. And I was like, that's not the vibe. That's not what's going to get you there.
Asking
And
the right questions is everything.
yes, yes. So I was just like, at the end of the year, I let it go. And I also, like, at the end of the year, I decided I was going to let go of a lot of the shit that I'd been carrying around with me, a lot of the baggage, a lot of that, what am I doing wrong, attaching meaning to things, whatever. And I just, because I had been for the last couple of months before that, really developing this idea of star power and bringing everything that I had learned as a performer, like, and applying it to business. Now, I had already been doing that for years, but I was like, I want to formalize this a little bit more so that I can really speak to it in a way that can help my clients and help my audience. So I'd been talking about that a lot and struggling with my own star power at the same time, like you with the burnout and I was like, this is not, this is fucking like, no, 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 no. And so I've just like now had this like couple of weeks off for the break for Christmas and have literally thrown everything out. I've thrown everything out. I started a new Instagram profile.
Mm.
I I cut my hair off. You know, my hair was like down
It
to,
looks gorgeous.
but like I cut my hair off. I was like, I'm reborn. I'm like, and obviously that's just symbolic, but like it's just like
Yeah.
I'm just like letting go of so much shit. And when I'm gonna take a break, and I did, and when I come back, I am just going to let fucking loose. I am going to be online the fabulous beast that I am. And since I came back, I am the fabulous beast. And I'm like, oh, that's star power, baby. That's star power. And I'm not thinking about the strategy. And here's the thing, right? Like when we talk about art, right? And practicing and rehearsal, like that's strategy for me. You know, strategy is like when you're in a play, it's the lines, right? You have to know your lines. You do need to know strategy. You do have to have how. And for me, strategy is just a plan. But somewhere along the line, a lot of people, and I was victim to this first, as also a lot of people think like, just give me the strategy, give me the magic strategy, and it'll blow up. And that was the biggest thing that I really had to learn by investing so much time, effort, money, multiple six figures I
Hmm.
invested in strategy just to now let it fucking go. The
Yeah.
only thing that you will see me focusing on now is star power because the strategy is there. It's in the bones. It's fine. It doesn't,
And
and
the
it doesn't
energy.
plan. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah. It's in being that person. It's in being your next level. And yeah, the strategy, like understanding the how, understanding the patterns, and then being like, okay, I'm gonna make my own now.
I'm gonna make my own now.
Yeah.
That's
Mm, I
creativity
love
is
it.
that's art. That's and
Yeah.
and and I believe that like business, there's nothing more creative than business. Like we literally create something out of
Mhm.
nothing in business. We create abundance with business. And so business is art. But in order to be really successful in business, you have to understand that you are the masterpiece.
Mm.
You're the masterpiece. And there's craft that goes into that masterpiece. There's creativity. There's diligence. There's, rehearsal, practice runs, like all the things, right? But
Yeah.
the most important piece of the masterpiece is the energy, is the art, is the colors, the vibrancy, the voice, the unique
Yes.
you.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so, so much. Tell us about your business and about how we can find you and follow you.
Well, you gotta follow me on Instagram now because that is the place, right? That I've just started my
Amazing.
Instagram, a fresh new account. It's I'm Lisa Fox. It's at I'm Lisa Fox. So I am Lisa Fox.
Yay.
So find me there. That's probably the very best place to follow me, I think, for this. This me. I'm also on Facebook, Lisa Fox on Facebook. Um, my business, I have been running it the last 3 years. I have two main things that well, actually, no, this is also new. I have one place where I really work with people a lot. One main place to work with me is called Sexy School. So obviously that's a play on sexy, right? And it's all about like being this fucking powerhouse and fabulous beast
Yeah.
and making six figures because of that, right? So I teach in 60 school. Yeah, I teach strategy. It's all there, right? But you come into 60 school to embody your fabulous beast, to really be that masterpiece. And that space is held for you in there to actually evolve into that. Now that is, yeah, so it's mainly for online business owners. There's a few different levels. So we have 60 school uh, lifetime, we've got 60 school VIP level, and then 60 school one-to-one as well.
I love it. And I was going to say this a little earlier, but you were talking about like growing into that seven-figure version of you and how in 60 school, like these are, entrepreneurs who are growing. And it's like we always get to grow. It doesn't matter like if you've reached your goals and whatever it is that you've wanted, like where's the next goal? Like we are always evolving. We get to be more at every level.
Yeah. And we've got it. So I talk about star power a lot, right? And I think everybody has the ability to be a star because we are made up of the same stuff as stars are made. We are literally made from stardust, right? Every single person has the ability, but if you look up at the sky and you see the stars, and it's just so fucking awesome.
Mm,
But what we don't see is there's a lot of stars up there that we actually can't see, right? Because stars are really affected by the atmosphere around them. And so, depending on the atmosphere around them, they're either going to be completely dimmed, we can't see them. They might be twinkling, right? Depending on the pollution or whatever in the air, or they're shining bright, right? Now, if
yeah.
you want to shine bright, you've got to be really intentional about the atmosphere around you. And for me,
Yes.
in 60 school, that is the atmosphere that I have created for people to come in and actually like shine, actually really shine. And I believe the more star power you have, the more money you make.
Mm, love it. Thank you so, so much. This has been amazing.
You are so welcome. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you.
You too.